Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Daniel Scranton. I am a channeler. I had an NDE-like experience back in 2010 that I do believe led to me becoming a channeler later that year. And I'm very happy to be here and to be interviewed for this channel. Yes, the nature of my NDE was that at that particular time in my life, I was feeling very bad about my situation. I had physical pain. I was unhappy in my marriage, and I was feeling kind of suicidal. I don't think I would have ever done it, but I was thinking about it because of how much pain I was in and didn't see a way out of the marriage that I was in. And so I was crying and really wanting to leave and thinking about how I might do it if I did do it and all that sort of stuff. And I had already been spiritually awake at this time. For over 10 years, I had been a very avid fan of channeling, but not a fan in any way of extraterrestrials. So extraterrestrials were beings that I believed in. I knew they existed, but I didn't have any personal interest in them. So I didn't think they really mattered in our experience here on Earth. But then after having that real breakdown, rock bottom experience, it wasn't a little more than 24 hours later that I had my experience that I came later to recognize was very similar to experiences that NDEers were having. So the first thing that happened was I was dreaming, and in my dream I was standing in a desert with a friend of mine who was very much interested in extraterrestrials. And so I turned to my friend in the desert and looked at him and said, I understand now about the other beings. And that was the entire dream. I woke up from that dream in the middle of the night, and at first I thought I was feeling a chill in the air because it was March, and so it wasn't even spring yet in Los Angeles. And then I realized that it was a sensation of energy, and it was coming in through the crown of my head. And the whole time I'm just lying in bed with my eyes closed as this is happening. The energy's coming in through my crown, and it feels so incredible, so amazing that my back is completely arched and I'm barely touching the bed, and I just keep saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I started to say, more please, because it really felt amazing. And then I started wondering what it had to do with the dream, what this experience had to do with the dream I had just woken up from, which was such a vivid and strange dream. And then I thought, I wonder what this has to do with aliens, because I knew in the dream when I told my friend Peter that I understood about the other beings that I meant aliens. And so as soon as I thought the word aliens, I got a huge surge of that energy going through me. And then I just repeated it over and over again, aliens, 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 because I just wanted more of the energy, and it kept flowing through me. And then I thought, more please again, more please one more time. And I started asking them questions at some point. Because I was curious about who these beings were, if the answer was yes, they would give me another surge of energy through my body. And if the answer was no, I would get nothing. So I finally asked if I could possibly see them. And I don't remember what the answer was to that question, but I did take my eye mask off that I had on for the first time, and I opened my eyes and I looked around the room, And then the energy started pouring through me again like it was in the very beginning, just so intense. But I didn't see anything in the room with me. Eventually, of course, it stopped, and I got up. And from that moment on, I was much more interested in understanding what the role of extraterrestrials was in our experience. And I was also convinced that I could somehow get close to having an experience like that again, because I was someone who meditated. I meditated every single day and usually for 45 minutes to an hour. And I wanted to sort of recreate the experience and remembering it and feeling for energy. I could give myself full body goosebumps and I could really feel energy coming in through my back. But it wasn't anything like the experience I had in the middle of the night. But I do believe that because of that pursuit of mine and continuing to feel for energy, that eventually led to me becoming a verbal channel, which happened about 8 months later. One of the things I assumed was happening during my experience was that I was getting healed from my chronic pain. It didn't work out that way, but it's one of the questions I even asked during the experience. I asked, "Are you here to heal me?" The answer was no. I got no energy. And when I said, "Are you here to play with me?" I got a yes. So I don't know why I even asked that question, but I do believe that I was getting an upgrade so that I would be able to channel later on, because channeling is an experience of moving energy that you receive through your body and then interpreting it into something that you can present to others and say, okay, here's what I'm channeling. Whether you do it through writing or painting or speaking verbally, which is how I channel. Now, the first group that I brought through as a channeler, I eventually came to know as the creators. But they don't introduce themselves as that. They made me pick a name for them. They're non-physical, and they've definitely never presented as extraterrestrial. So it wasn't for several years into the time that I had started channeling that I began channeling some ET groups, like the Hathors, the Pleiadians, and then the Arcturians. And once I started to channel the Arcturians in 2016, for some reason, I stuck with them. Usually I was sort of moving around from group to group and channeling messages from my YouTube channel and my website from different groups. But once I landed on the Arcturians, I channeled messages only from them for the daily messages for 6 whole years, and then maybe 7. And then I think it was last year that I started bringing in other groups to speak for the daily messages that I bring through again. But yeah, I definitely have some relationship with the Arcturians. The messages that I channel that I call the daily messages, they're all for mankind. Their messages have been about extraterrestrial contact lately, of course. And there's been a lot of drone activity in the New Jersey, New York area in the United States that has a lot of people's attention. And they did say that even that event is about preparing humanity for extraterrestrial contact, because the more people are talking about these things possibly being of extraterrestrial origin, the easier it is then for people to get more comfortable with the idea of big alien spaceships in the skies, because that is going to happen, of course, for the next couple of years before they really make themselves known and land those ships and come out from those ships and show us who they are. Now, this is not the group that I channel, the Arcturians that I'm talking about here, because there are both physical ETs who are in our dimension, who are on those ships, and there are non-physical ETs that exist in higher dimensional planes, and that's what the Arcturians are that I channel. So most Arcturians are of such a high vibration that they no longer take on physical form. ETs will be coming to the Earth and will be walking amongst us, and you can expect that by the end of this decade of the 2020s, that will be integrating extraterrestrials into our society. They'll become very influential, of course. They'll have a lot to teach us. And there will also be opportunities for humans to go on their ships and go for rides in space, because that's something a lot of people are interested in as well. And they know that, and they want to show us their world as well and where they come from. My feeling about 2025 is we're going to see more of the types of things we've been seeing, where the conversation about extraterrestrials is in more of the mainstream media and in the U.S. Congress. There's going to be more coverage of these ship sightings in the skies, and you're going to see also some of the changes that need to happen happening to give us the new systems that we need to replace the old systems that haven't really been working for everybody. They've been more favoring the few than the many, and so those types of shifts, I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. I don't have a way of saying like, oh, so this will become exposed and then we'll stop using these particular pharmaceuticals. I think, for example, the healthcare system, which is one that fails so many by not giving enough services and then charging too much for the pharmaceuticals that some people really believe they need, and some really do need. You know, we're already seeing that sort of thing happening with the great backlash that came out against the COVID vaccine. There were so many people who were saying, even though I was vaccinated as a kid, and I got my measles, mumps, rubella, polio, all these different vaccines when I was a kid, and we all just accepted it then. Now it's being called into question more whether we need all these vaccines and what's in these vaccines, and that's causing people to question the authority that they've given to the medical establishment. So there's an example of something that has already happened that you'll see a continuation of in the coming years, where more and more people are going to say, well, the Western medicine doesn't work. It hasn't worked for me. I still feel this issue in my body. The symptoms aren't going away. I keep having surgery after surgery. So you've already seen new things popping up that are very alternative. The EES system for healing. There's, of course, Reiki's been around forever, but there's QHHT, and there's all these different types of sound healings, and you'll just see more and more of that popping up. It's going to become more mainstream for people to be going down a more natural path when it comes to caring for themselves. And we've also already seen how cryptocurrency has given people an alternative to the money system that's been in place. And so we'll continue to see more of that, more kinds of exchange, systems of exchange coming up for people to use as an alternative so that they can feel more empowered in their finances. And one thing I don't see for humanity is a need for us to have any kind of major cataclysmic events. I don't see that we need to have meteor striking any war or massive earthquakes, supervolcanoes. None of that, in my opinion, is necessary because this is about helping people to expand their consciousness and helping them to expand their sense of self. It's not about knocking down entire cities so that they can be rebuilt, because that's a very physical thing, and that's working from the outside in, and we need to work more from the inside out. So, of course, you'll also see more channelers emerging. I know in the past few years I've learned of so many channelers that I didn't know of before and know of now because they're more and more coming to prominence on YouTube and other platforms for people to get these messages that we really are powerful beings and we can create our reality. That's a great question about the relationship between the governments, especially the U.S. government, which of course is a powerful group. It's a powerful group of people in that there's a control of the U.S. military, and the U.S. military has quite a bit of might to it. So that's one of the reasons why the ETs took a great interest in the U.S. in particular, especially after the end of World War II. World War II, right. Which, of course, there were those bombings in Japan, and the atomic weapons being used made humanity somewhat of a risk to the entire galaxy and the universe, because the kinds of weapons that we've created now have the potential to tear holes through reality and destroy all of reality. And that is why there is never really a nuclear threat, because they will never allow a nuclear bomb to be detonated because of the damage, the effect it will have, the domino effect on the entire galaxy and universe. It cannot be allowed. So we really became on everyone's radar after the end of World War II because we were showing that we have this ability to do a massive amount of destruction. And so the ETs did get involved, and ever since then, I think there's been a lot more ET contact than you've probably heard about, because I can tell you from my own experience with working with so many clients over the years. I've been channeling for 14 years now, and I've had so many private sessions where people talk about their extraterrestrial encounters. So they're not always something that you could film, like mine, for example. I couldn't have filmed that because my cell phone was nowhere near my bed and there was nothing to film. But that's the kind of experience that I hear about in private sessions with people all the time, where it's happening at night, they're asleep, they wake up, there's a being in the room with them. A lot of people have talked about their encounters with spaceships as well, and they're not just all in the US, they're all over the world. So the superpowers in terms of, nuclear, the Russians and US, and then I'm guessing China. I don't know if China has nukes or not, but the those governments are going to have had some involvement with these ETs because of the potential that they have for doing this massive amount of destruction. And that's why they would get involved with a large country's government. Definitely pro-peace. So it's not as though they want one side to win over another in a war. But where they would get involved is if a particular country said, we're going to launch our nuclear weapons and, end this war that way, then they would get involved and they would stop that from happening. But they do, overall, just like on Star Trek, have a prime directive, a non-interference policy. Now, the reason that they're allowed to interfere with the deployment of a nuclear bomb is because of that ripple effect it would have and how it would destroy so much. That has nothing to do with Earth. But other than that, they do have a hands-off approach. Yeah, well, that's a great question about how they'll impact the Earth by being here. I think that according to Bashar, who I like to watch his videos and listen to Daryl Anka interviews. And Bashar is from one of those races, those hybrid races that was created from all of those abductions that happened in the 1940s and 50s and 60s and so on, where the human and Zeta DNA was mixed together to create an ET human hybrid. So they have said that they are going to want to help us clean up our act with our economic system, with our environment, with these wars and things. That they're going to want to help us to be the versions of ourselves that they know we can be. They see our potential, and they know that we've been going down this path of moving away from nature and going so far into technology, and of course that we still feel very separate from source energy, and that's a big problem for humanity. And so they're going to be influencing us probably through teachings and suggestions and things of that nature that we can apply, just like the Arcturians I've channeled are doing and Bashar is doing and Pleiadians that other people channel are doing. They're offering help but more people will be listening once there's a physical presence, because more people will go, oh, okay, so that's real. So ETs are real and they're here. We might as well listen to what they have to say because they were able to build that gigantic spaceship and get here, so they must know some things that we don't know. What happens in our current economy, it doesn't necessarily make sense that the people who work the hardest tend to get paid the least amount. The people doing the real hard back-breaking labor are making minimum wage, and then somebody else just has to click a few buttons and make a stock trade, and there's an imbalance there, and they're going to want to balance things in terms of energy put out and energy that comes back. Because That's the way economic systems work for other races of ETs that are out there that have like a system of exchange. They will figure out a way to measure energy output by a person, and then that gives that person so many credits. And then whatever that person wants, of course, there's a certain amount of credits that something costs. And so there's still an exchange going on. I think they're going to want us to get on more of a fair system like that, so that if somebody's putting out a lot of energy, they're not living in abject poverty, which is the case on Earth for so many people. The message that they give is that we will be having a first contact experience here on Earth soon, in the next couple of years, and it's a similar message that you'll see Bashar giving, and Mundi Kennedy's Pleiadians giving, and Rob Gauthier, another channeler of ETs. So they're all on the same page. All the ETs are saying that this contact for humanity is imminent. It's going to happen. It's just a question now of the timing of it, and of course, readying us all for that experience by having more individual contact experiences. So everyone who is watching this video doesn't have to wait for extraterrestrial contact to happen on a large scale in order for them to have their own personal ET contact experience like I had. And of course, I'm looking forward to having more ET encounters as well, and with physical ETs that I can see and talk to. And we all can have those experiences in the next couple of years, which does help the entire human collective consciousness to become ready for that experience themselves, because we're all connected. So the more experiences I have, and you have, and others have, the more it adds to the collective consciousness of our extraterrestrial contact, and helps to ready everyone, all 8 billion people, for that experience. Now there's also going to be more sightings in the skies. There's going to be more ships, seen big ships, sightings that are unmistakable as not human-made. And of course, everyone's now walking around with a video camera, which is, the cell phone, and anyone can upload their videos online, so there's going to be a lot more of that evidence out there that will make it easier for people down the line when the ships are really getting ready to land here. To answer the question about people preparing for it, I think that we've been preparing, and we've been prepared. One of the ways that you can see some shifts, and I know people will disagree with me on this, but you can see shifts in the consciousness of humanity is in the stories that we're telling and the quality of the story. So by having so many television shows and movies that feature ETs, for example, that's one way we've been prepared for those types of realities where we're interacting with ETs on a regular basis, and it's just normal to have them around. But other stories that we see are about people using their consciousness more to change reality, rather than having to do something very physical, having to take a lot of physical action to make something happen. So you're getting more consciousness-driven ideas out there, especially in the Marvel universe, of course. So science fiction is very much on top of this idea of it is about thoughts and feelings and one's ability to control those that helps to determine that person's reality. Well, I can be found on the internet. DanielScranton.com is my website, and I'm also on YouTube with thousands of videos there, and my YouTube channel is just called Daniel Scranton. Then, yeah, if people go to my website and sign up for my newsletter, they'll be kept aware of all the things that I'm doing. I'm on Instagram at Daniel Scranton Channels, and yeah, those are the main places where you can find me and my work.